Welcome to Diversity CRE TV, and hi, my name is Niles Reyes, and my guest on this episode is Tommy Choi. Tommy serves as an advisor for the Greenwood Commercial Real Estate Group's corporate services team. Tommy focuses on office and industrial tenant representation, property disposition, acquisition, portfolio management, and long-term strategic planning. He also serves on the board of two nonprofits, SEAMAAC as its secretary and real estate committee chair, and the National Association of Asian American Professionals as its chief operating officer. Tommy is a graduate of Temple University with a Bachelor of Science in Architecture and a Bachelor of Business Administration in Marketing. Recently, Tommy was an honoree in Aldea's 40 Under 40 for 2021. I spoke with Tommy earlier, and here's what he had to say. So Tommy, thank you so much for joining me here today, taking time out of your day to share your story with everyone. And the way I like to start out these interviews is I like to start with your background. So taking it back all the way back, I call this the roots of the interview. If you want to, you can take it back to the motherland. Where's your family originally from?
Hong Kong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So family's originally from Hong Kong. I did not do a long stint in Hong Kong myself. So I grew up, I was born in Hong Kong. My parents moved to New Jersey when I was around 2 years old.
Okay.
They were already in the States, and they decided they want to start a family, move back home so that I can get dual citizenship. They selfishly wanted to do that.
Okay.
But I stayed there for about 2 years, came back to the Central Jersey area. They moved me out of New Jersey for 1 year in New York. And then I came back to Princeton, where I kind of settled in until all the way to high school.
Okay.
And then eventually landed here in Philly when I went to college.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So let's rewind back. Let's just focus on that family part of it. What's the dynamics of your family?
So I am an only child.
Okay.
My family, so it's just my mom and my dad and myself. That's it.
Right.
So they spent a lot of time on me, right?
Okay.
So I couldn't run away from that. But we're a close-knit family, kind of nature by design. No siblings, so it's just us. They are now retired. I actually bought their house from them a year ago.
Awesome.
And I can say it with love that they're my tenants now. But their plan is to kind of retire because we have properties overseas as well in Asia. So their plan is to kind of spend a few months here and there here in the States and then go back to and enjoy the fruits of the labor overseas.
Awesome. Awesome. And so you say you went to high school, you're from the Princeton, Jersey area, and then you came to Philadelphia for college. What made you come to Philadelphia?
So when I was in high school, luckily my high school had a architecture program.
Okay.
Right. So I did from freshman year all the way to my senior year in high school. I was part of that architecture program.
Right.
So naturally that led me to start thinking, okay, I want to be an architect. I've spent 4 years in high school doing this. I think I want to do it as a future pursuit.
Okay.
So as you're going through the process of applying for colleges, I applied for 11 because architecture school is naturally very competitive.
Right.
And Temple was one of the colleges that actually had accepted me. Actually, all 11 did, but Temple specifically was one that was truly in a city format. And they gave me a great scholarship, especially since I was out of state.
Right.
But they also had a very prestigious architecture program.
Okay. Awesome.
So that's kind of what led me to come to Philly. Plus, it's only about an hour away from my parents as well. So any emergencies come up, I can hop on the highway and get back to them if I have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Temple. First of all, shout out to TU.
Yeah.
How was your experience there?
Well, I'm pretty certain that the kids are having a better experience than I had.
Oh, really?
I mean, look at the school now.
Oh,
it's beautiful compared to when I went.
I feel like that's everybody's college. Like even my school.
Yeah.
I don't even recognize it. Half the buildings are only like 5 years old.
It's truly wild because when I was there, Morgan Hall, which is the new high rise that's there, the residence wasn't there. The first new residence that they built there was the Edge, which was on Montgomery, and really the movie theater, the Avenue of the Art, like the movie theater was there.
Right.
And my dorm room was cement floors, cement ceiling, cement walls, and a twin size bed.
Okay.
So some might say that was a very sad dorm.
Right.
But that was like my kind of exposure into living outside of my parents' house, right?
Right.
So I'm in a little gray box now, but
Hmm.
it was tremendous. I met some of my closest friends there.
Okay.
Uh, one of which I actually married. I married them a year ago.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's one of those things where Temple was. It's also one of the most diverse schools as well.
That is true.
Because if you look at the breakdown, they have people coming from all over the country,
Yeah.
all over the world, and it was nice to kind of start seeing other people outside of kind of the bubble that I came from
Yeah.
in Jersey.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, Temple is a great school. My sister actually went there, so I've been there plenty of times, and like half my friends are from Temple. Obviously, being from
Yeah.
Philadelphia, that's just natural.
Yeah.
It's one of the bigger schools in the area. So, yeah, shout out to Temple University. So then, let's talk about this architectural program. So you graduated with an architectural degree.
Yeah.
Did you major in anything else or minor?
Yeah, I did. I double majored in architecture and marketing.
Okay.
Halfway through my architecture curriculum, I realized maybe I made a mistake with architecture. Because architecture
No,
is
no offense. No offense.
absolutely no. It's me. It's definitely not them.
It's me. It's not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the program at Temple with the architecture school was great. I loved it. The only thing that I came to realize is that architecture, in the grand scheme of things, is a form of art,
Right.
and art is incredibly subjective.
Mm,
Some people love your art, and a lot of other people hate your art. It just kind of depends on taste.
right.
So when you're talking about art in the physical space, sometimes what I was trying to achieve and accomplish was, from an engineering standpoint, would never work. So as I realized, okay, this is probably not something that I want to work into my 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
I know I still love the idea of architecture in the physical space. So I want to get a business degree, because
Okay.
if I want to pivot and go into the business of development, brokerage, things like that, I can still fall back on that concept. So I ended up double majoring in marketing because, truth be told, marketing was probably the easiest curriculum from a business degree standpoint, while
Okay.
I was tackling architecture school full
Appreciate your
time as
transparent.
well.
Appreciate your honesty.
Absolutely. So I ended up um, basically doubling up on all my course loads, going to summer school here in Philly as well. So I basically spent every day of my life since 2007, for the most part,
Mm,
in Philly, because I
right.
didn't go home for the summers.
Oh, okay.
I still wanted to graduate within the 4-year program.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what I ultimately did.
Okay.
And architecture schools, at least when I went, it's usually a 5-year program.
True.
I elected for the Bachelor of Science of Architecture, which, if I wanted to continue pursuing architecture, I would have to go to a master's program to actually be able to sit for my license. But I knew I wasn't going to do it. So
Right.
4 years was all I wanted to do.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome, man. Appreciate the breakdown. So then after college, what happened?
Well, I already spent so much time in architecture school, right?
Right.
I had to at least give it a shot.
Right.
So I started working at a local firm in King of Prussia, D2. So I started there as one of their designers, and shifted into spearheading their brand new concept of doing graphic design, and really tailoring graphics within the physical space. So I started doing that, and I realized, look, I still have a marketing degree. Marketing translates into business development. So my second firm was Environetics, which is now NOR here in the city. So
Okay.
I was living in the city, but commuting to King of Prussia. But now I
Wow.
found my second career in Philly, in the city, where I could just walk to work, and it was perfect.
Okay.
So I was there. I was on a team that won the CSL Bearing project
Okay.
in King of Prussia. We won the CSC project down in Wilmington. So naturally, winning those high-profile projects from an architecture side landed some. It gave me some exposure into the business, and people started taking notice. Okay, well, Tommy Choi put together this proposal. He was part of the presentation team. So brokers started reaching out, asking, hey, do you want to give this a shot?
Really?
So that's kind of how I got introduced into commercial real estate. I knew I
Okay.
wanted to go there at some point.
Right.
I just didn't realize that that was going to be my entry point.
Right. Which you had already prepared yourself in college
Yeah.
with the lingo, double majoring, but then going into the industry, you still gave architecture a shot, which you obviously were doing your job. You did a good job at what you were doing. So, because you were doing such a great job, those brokers felt comfortable reaching out to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They wanted to see my headspace,
Right.
where I was at, and at that point, it was trying to figure out at what time period. At this point, I think it was 2014.
Okay.
I was about 3 to 4 years out of college.
Okay.
They saw a hungry kid that
Yeah.
knew how to put together proposals and was I'm very type A.
Okay.
I am someone that will put together a list of tasks
Yeah.
every single morning,
Yeah.
and I always put 2 extra tasks. If I hit them, it's a home run.
Okay.
If I don't hit the two, I'll settle for a double or a triple.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So that's kind of my personality. So a lot of brokers kind of reflected on that and said to me at least that, hey, look, your personality kind of fits the mold of potential success.
Right.
They won't say success because in this industry, it's most times it's really just luck, and other times it's truly about grit.
Right.
But I had the potential, and they saw that potential, so that opened my eyes to
Right.
start reaching out to brokerages,
Okay.
asking them not for a job,
Mm-hmm.
for a 30-minute coffee, talk to the other brokers, some of the managing principals. What's the culture like?
Mm-hmm.
What are the expectations day to day of your young advisors?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me almost a year to kind of figure out like what was the right firm for me to kind of get my career started.
Right, right. And this is one reason why I wanted to have you on this platform, because a story like that helps kids that are in school that may not be, all in on commercial real estate and are watching something like this, but they learn that they could, maybe minor in something just to kind of get used to the lingo and then get into a industry, but then really outdo and overperform. And also keeping it back in the mind, they may want to transition later and start, reaching out to people with coffees and, you know, um, um, informal interviews, etc. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this platform, because I know that's your background. So that's amazing. And so now let's go into your first big break into the industry. Who finally gave you a shot?
Cressa.
Okay.
So I was with Cressa for right around 4 years.
Shout out to Cressa.
In Conshohocken in our office. Funny thing is that the office that I was at Cressa has since been demolished.
Oh,
It's
wow.
now part of AmerisourceBergen's new headquarters.
Okay.
But Cressa was the firm that I ultimately selected, and they selected me to kind of join their team. It was an interesting interview. I think I was there for on 3 separate occasions, and this is the first time. And I every single time tell people the story, and they're always they don't believe me because they've never seen this in an interview. But what they gave me was a hypothetical client, and I had to go in and pitch Cressa services that I didn't fully understand yet
What?
as my final interview. So I had
Wow.
to put together a presentation, which, truth be told, was a little bit of a mess because I work off of a MacBook.
Okay.
And most brokerages, generally speaking, most companies, generally
Yeah.
speaking, work off of Microsoft.
True.
They didn't have the adapters. We were scrambling to find the adapters. We finally found it, and I gave the presentation, but it was to sell the services of a firm that I was about to join or potentially joining
Right.
to a hypothetical client that they created. And the result of my presentation dictated if I was going to get the job or not. Or at least that's how
Wow.
I thought of it.
Wow.
So that was my entry point into the Cressa, and that was my interview process. I can't say that other firms don't do it, but I haven't heard other firms
Yeah,
do
I
it.
never heard that before,
Yeah.
and that's something I would expect to maybe like in a more experienced professional
Yeah.
who's kind of like uh, done this for a little while. You want to see actually how good they are, but for somebody like yourself just trying to break in, that's
Yeah.
a pretty,
I mean, I've done presentations from the architecture side, and which is
True.
all also professional services
Yes.
because it's not a product you're selling. But to talk about the specific services of a firm that I don't have any working experience
Right.
with, that was kind of just grabbing things kind of out of the bag, out of the air,
Yeah.
essentially. Did a lot of research on the company. Well, I think that might have been the point of it all. To
Okay.
do the research on the company and the services that they provide, read every single case study that they've
Right.
done, or at least have published,
Right.
and see how they were able to accomplish the transaction as a whole,
Yeah.
and try to incorporate those buzzwords into my presentation to them.
That's good, man.
So yeah, it was a nice learning experience. It was definitely nerve-wracking as
Yeah.
I was kind of leading up into it,
I
but
can
it
imagine.
was it was it was fun.
Yeah, and I can imagine, any kid or student watching this interview can actually say, well, maybe I can go into the interview with a fake company or a fake project or presentation and, show them I can do the job,
Yeah, I
just
mean
show
it's
people.
definitely a differentiator
Yeah,
because if you think about it, you've probably experienced it yourself, where you get applicants that might want a job and that job might not be solicited, or a job that is posted. You get a stack of resumes,
yes,
just pieces of paper on a
right,
desk that's probably already cluttered.
right,
So if you get a chance to come in and meet someone for 15, 20, 30 minutes,
yeah,
you have to make sure that you're memorable.
yes,
And that's the type of thing that I always take with me,
yeah,
because as you make phone calls to people that you don't know,
hmm,
you can get 10, 20, 100 tries at it,
right,
because the likelihood of them remembering Niles or Tommy calling
yeah,
them last Friday or last Wednesday, they're going to forget it by Tuesday.
always,
But when you meet someone for the first time, you got to bring your A game.
yeah,
And it's okay to not know everything,
right,
but you have to be confident.
right,
And any follow-up questions that you didn't know, invite them to go, I don't know this. I don't know how to answer this right now,
hmm,
but I'd love to follow up with you later this week, talk about it.
yeah,
And leave it at that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great, man. No, that's great to hear. I can already see you being a public speaker, a motivational speaker one
No,
day,
no,
man. That's
no.
awesome. So let's go into in commercial real estate, right? We're on that path. So what are you doing now in the industry?
So I'm a director with Greenwood Commercial Real Estate.
Okay.
We are the country's largest African American led commercial
Wow.
real estate brokerage.
Awesome.
Collectively, the principals that we have today have over 190 years of commercial real estate experience.
Wow.
So we have professionals from a leadership perspective from Studley, which is now Savills, JLL, Cushman & Wakefield, Avison Young, Cressa, myself. So we have, and CBRE, we have leadership, we have individuals in the leadership position that came from all the big firms, that did all the big deals.
Right.
So we really just figured out we're better, we can be better together.
Right.
And that's kind of how Greenwood Commercial Real Estate, or Greenwood CRE as we like to call it, kind of
Hmm.
formed. And Greenwood's name is an homage to Greenwood, Oklahoma, and Tulsa,
Yeah.
Black Wall Street.
Right.
So that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to not be just another firm in the market. We want to
Hmm.
really differentiate ourselves, and we understand, we live and breathe diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to bring to the market. We want to shake it up.
Yeah, definitely, man. You got me shaking up already
Yeah.
just talking about this. My gosh. So let's talk about diversity and inclusion. So you say you've been in Philadelphia for years now. You're obviously involved in D&I efforts. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, sure. So D&I, especially in the commercial real estate industry, um, it's it's made strides. I won't deny that,
All right.
but we are still behind the eight ball compared to our other respective
True.
industries. And a lot of it is that the industry as a whole is pretty antiquated. Like
Right.
they're used to doing things their own way.
Right.
And my take on it is commercial real estate is an avenue for generational wealth.
It is.
And when minorities are not in the business, they don't create that avenue, or at least the opportunity to create generational wealth.
Preach.
And generational wealth is one of those things from a minority standpoint. We either never heard of it, never seen it ourselves. So we don't know that it exists. But individuals that are in the commercial real estate space live and breathe generational wealth. And that's why commercial real estate and real estate in general is a family business, because you invite friends and families into the business.
Yeah.
And when minorities don't get a seat at the table, or at least the opportunity to get exposed into the business, you're cutting so many people out of potentially creating that generational wealth.
Yeah.
And that's why D&I is such a passionate point for myself. But outside of just the industry as a whole, I serve on 2 nonprofits. The biggest one is NAAAP, which stands for the National Association of Asian American Professionals, the Philadelphia chapter. And our motto is to build leaders. And we want to build leaders within the minority space.
Right.
We want to make sure that the next CFO can be someone that is of a different cultural and ethnic background.
Okay.
We want to make sure that women get an opportunity to be in a leadership space in the C-suites.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing kind of outside of work, I would say, in the D&I space.
Yeah, definitely. And I got an opportunity to visit you at the Philabundance Race to Feed event. So tell me a little about, you're a high-ranking official in that organization as well, right?
Yeah, I serve as a COO of NAAAP. We're 100% volunteer.
Yes.
So the title is nice,
Yeah.
but it doesn't come with the paycheck. But it's fine. Everyone, I have a great team. We have about 25 individuals, 100% volunteer. And serving as CEO, I really just oversee the team structure, make sure that all the pieces are fitting right, everything that needs to be done is done. So that's all I'm doing. And I hate to be a micromanager, so I don't like doing that.
Okay.
Because I do think that leaders, from a leadership perspective, the idea of a leader is that you have to motivate people.
Right.
You can't just give out instructions or demands.
Right.
So that's what I try to do.
Right. Okay. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a brief announcement giving you, the viewers, an opportunity to support this program. If you've enjoyed this type of content, which highlights the achievements of a diverse set of professionals, you can support by clicking on one of the payment app links in the description below. I'm a black man with a plan who teamed up with another skilled brother and his wife, and we've decided that there's not enough stories being shared of successful and progressive diverse individuals. For instance, if you haven't caught on already, I'm from Philly, and if you're from Philly too, see if you can answer these 3 questions. Who is the most popular black actor from Philly? Okay, who is the most successful and well-known rapper to recently come out of the city of Philadelphia? Last one. Who is the most famous and highest paid comedian to come out of Philly? Now, you didn't even have to be from the city of brotherly love to know the answer to those questions, because anyone that's been paying attention to the American culture for the past decade knows who these fine gentlemen are. And it's a testament to the talent in the city I call home. Now look, I'm not trying to name drop, although I just did, but it helps provide context for the next set of questions. Check this out. Can you name one minority individual from the city of Philadelphia who has served or currently serving as a chairman or CEO of a Fortune 500 company? Who is the most successful minority banker, venture capitalist, and/or entrepreneur to come out of Philly? Currently, who is considered one of the most distinguished minority educators, lawyers, accountants, doctors, or my personal favorite, commercial real estate developer in the city of Philadelphia? Don't know? Well, I don't know either, but I'm on a mission to find these individuals, interview them, and ensure that we all know who's who going forward. Okay, now that you get my drift, here's your opportunity to support the ongoing efforts to highlight a diverse set of professionals and to inspire the next generation. Eventually, we're looking to go across the country to speak with you or someone you know at the top of their game in their respective industry and has significant community involvement. Please contact me on LinkedIn right now. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for the latest videos on this channel. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so talk about what is a day-to-day, now that you talked about, your background at Temple University, and then you got your first big break by Cressa. What is your day-to-day, especially now you're working with Greenwood?
Oh, day-to-days are always a little tough. Day-to-days are the great thing about the business is that not every day is the same.
Okay.
So you kind of get to reinvent yourself every single day. But a typical day-to-day for me is I am an early riser, and I am a terrible person at going to bed early. So I never get any sleep, but I function well on that. But I wake up early, I get my list together, what I need to
Okay.
do that day.
Yeah.
And when I turn on my computer at that time around 7:30, and I start following up on everything that I missed after I went to bed,
Yes.
right? And really get your day started and make sure that you don't fall behind quickly, because you can fall behind quickly
Oh,
when
yeah.
emails start coming in this industry. So I on a normal day, I'm servicing clients. There are always deals in motion that it requires my advisory and my team to kind of move the next puzzle piece over, the next chess piece over. So I'm either putting together market surveys or putting or going on physical tours,
Right.
or I am putting together financial analyses of the
Yeah.
deal that was proposed,
Yeah.
or I'm at the negotiation table of trying to finalize the lease agreement
Right.
or sale agreement. But in if I'm not talking about transactional work, I'm still someone that is trying to network as much as I can. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm trying to see who I'm connected to, and introducing myself, try to set up a meeting. I'm still hunting like that.
Yeah.
You can get bogged down on the servicing aspect of the industry, but you still have to fulfill a pipeline and build up that pipeline.
Yep.
So even I am nearly a decade into corporate services, I am still today making cold calls, making cold emails. That type of work should never be beneath anyone
Right.
when you're in this role.
Right.
You have to constantly challenge yourself to try to make new connections and set up new meetings.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And so now I want to focus in on the fact that, okay, there's these D&I efforts and initiatives that a lot of commercial real estate companies in, corporate America is rolling out. And we know there's a lack of representation within the African American community, the Latin community, and obviously you represent the Asian community. There's not a lot of Asian brokers.
No, which I think it's terrible.
Yeah, it
But
is.
so far, it's, selfishly speaking, if I'm I believe I'm one of four Asian brokers, or one of four Asian commercial real estate
Right.
professionals.
Okay.
I think I am one of two brokers,
Wow.
truly brokers,
Right.
not on an account team or doing capital markets.
Right.
So it's definitely it's different, right?
Yes.
I think I said this in another interview once, and when you break down the stats, over 70% are white men in commercial real estate.
Right.
Roughly 14% is white women.
Okay.
Less than 1.3% is African American men.
Right.
African American women do not get a statistic. Asian men and women collectively do not get a statistic.
That is so crazy.
It's wild.
It is
really is wild.
crazy.
So when you think about that from that perspective, I think what is the issue is that minorities of all cultures don't see that commercial real estate isn't just transactional work. It's not just brokerage. You have appraisals, you have research, you have analysts. There are a complete spectrum of the business as a whole.
Yes.
And if you don't like to do the sales aspect, or the kind of the salesperson being a commercial real estate broker, there are multiple career paths to be successful in commercial real estate. And a lot of individuals, once they get introduced to it and they find a passion to it, they can be incredibly successful.
Right.
But it's that education and that entry point that we have to start breaking down.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's one reason, again, why I wanted you on this platform, because we need people like you providing that exposure so others that have, different backgrounds can say, oh, I've never knew that this person existed, because, you're not getting that exposure. And speaking about exposure for you, you were recently an honoree of the Aldea 40 Under 40.
Yes.
Okay.
Class of 2021.
Okay. Class of 2021. Congrats.
Yeah.
Let me shake your hand on that,
Thank
brother.
you. No,
Appreciate
I
that, man.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. How did they tell you you won the award, or it's a surprise to you as
So
well?
yeah, so what I know about the process is that you have to be nominated.
Right.
They go through the nomination process, and I believe there were roughly about almost 200 applicants or 200
Wow.
nominations, and
Wow.
obviously only 40 are selected.
Okay.
So it's been on a professional bucket list of mine to
Mm.
hopefully make a positive impact
Yes.
and not for the recognition.
No, 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 no.
No, it's to know that I've done something well enough
Right.
and making change in a positive light
Right.
to be on a list, even on the top 200 list
Right.
of young professionals here in the city.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been very overwhelming.
In the city, and I know the recognition doesn't matter to you, but it is really heavy when it comes to trying to expose other minorities, and to the stat you just gave out, especially Asian minorities, like this is a career path that you can be successful in if you want to. If not, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that exposure, that recognition helps in that matter. So yeah, man, no, this is great. This is why exactly why I wanted you to share your story. So I really do appreciate that. So, all right, I'll just go into some rapid fire questions for you. What is the one thing that you wish you knew when you first started in this industry?
Oh man,
And
there's so many.
it's
There's
rapid
so
fire. It's
many.
rapid
So
fire. So you got
many.
to hit me.
Time
Give me
management.
one. Give me one.
Time management.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I wish I was better at saying no.
Yeah.
I mean that's the thing.
Right.
Most clients are great.
Right.
Some prospective clients or even just your colleagues.
Yes.
I mean, you can burn time really quickly. There's never enough time.
Never. It flies.
Yeah. So if something to your question about something I wish I knew, time management,
Yeah.
because they don't teach that in college.
No, they don't. It should be a class within itself. I
Yeah.
mean, good God. Okay, next. This is the rapid fire. So next question: who are the three most influential people in your life?
All right. So I'm gonna lump my parents together. So my parents are incredibly hardworking individuals. So they kind of gave me the backbone and really the playbook to how to work hard.
Yes.
My business partner right now, Brian Edmonds, who
Okay.
you know,
Shout out to Brian Edmonds.
yeah,
Yeah.
great influence. It's lovingly within the Greenwood BD calls on Tuesdays. We call him Father Time because he's the oldest guy on the team.
That's
But at the
hilarious.
same time, he's got the most experience, so
Mm-hmm.
we gotta learn
It's
from
a great
that.
guy.
And then my good friend and also NAAAP colleague, Ping Cho, who's the president. He's
Mm.
Most people call him the unofficial mayor of Philadelphia
Oh,
because he knows every single person.
really?
He's been a great mentor, great friend.
Wow.
I can approach him, and he's not in the real estate industry.
No, 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 I know.
So he sees it from another perspective. He can
Mm.
see it from a client perspective.
Yes.
So I'll run ideas to
Mm.
him, and he's very transparent. He's never shy from telling me, "Hey, you are completely wrong on
Right.
this," and that is what I need.
Right.
So he's
Right.
been a great resource.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What's probably been one of the biggest failures in your life or in your career?
Celebrating too early, or at least having that look. The deal's not done until the deal's done. It doesn't matter if the contract's been
Yo, I
signed.
love your
Yeah,
straightforward. I mean,
it's
keep it
that's the
real, man.
the reality. And I'm not talking about celebrating going out and buying a new house or a new car or
Right.
anything. I think it's the idea of pumping yourself up where when you get that kind of positive feeling, hey, I just landed this giant client or I just signed this big deal, you take the foot off the pedal. Even if it's just an inch off the pedal,
Yeah.
once your foot's off the pedal, you lose that momentum.
Mm,
So
that's a good point.
I try to never make a big deal out of landing a new client or just finishing a project. I almost get tunnel vision. It's kind of on to the next, or
Okay.
what other clients need my services right now, and that's kind of how I take my approach.
Okay, cool, cool. And so now we're just going to cool it down, get to the end of the interview. More leisurely questions. Tell me, what's your favorite book?
Start with the Why by SEAMAAC. So
Okay.
it's a great book, great business book. Kind of, I recommend any college student that's kind of about to graduate read that book.
Okay.
If you don't have a copy, I I'm happy to share mine. But
Very generous. Appreciate
yeah,
that.
other than that, I mean, I try to read as much as I
Hmm.
can, but truth be told, that time
Hmm.
aspect is what's
Yeah,
tough.
true.
So I listen to more podcasts than
And what's your
anything.
favorite podcast?
Uh, it's a tie. I love the Joe Rogan Experience, but I also love,
Everybody loves Joe,
yeah, I
the
also
the
love
father of podcasts.
Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard.
Okay, I
It's a
gotta
great
check that out.
podcast.
What's it called again?
Armchair Expert.
I'm checking. Okay.
Yeah, with Dax Shepard. Great interviewer. He's an actor by trade, or a stuntman slash actor by trade, but he is just incredible at giving interviews because he's so laid back,
Hmm.
and he's had great guests and
Hmm.
guests from other actors and actresses all the way to the Obamas.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the spectrum that he's in,
Hmm.
and it's great kind of on, especially on commutes or at the gym, kind of listening to kind of new perspectives from other industries
Hmm.
that are being very transparent because his podcasts, people just lay it out there.
Hmm.
They'll say everything,
Okay.
which is refreshing.
And even though we're cooling it down, I do want to ask you a heavy question. During the pandemic,
Hmm.
there's been a lot of, I would say, coverage on some of the mishaps that were going on towards the Asian community.
Yeah.
What are your feelings towards that as an Asian commercial real estate professional, and how did you and your family deal with that?
I mean, just outside of just being an Asian American professional in the commercial real estate industry, just as an Asian American in general, it's one of the shockingly when I tell people this and when they ask me about my feelings about all of this is that this has been happening for a very long time,
Right.
and just so happens that it didn't happen at the volume that it was happening in a short period of time, where there was actual news coverage, but there's been attacks like this throughout the country for years now. It's incredibly unfortunate. I think how the media had spun COVID in a way it and past politics have kind of pointed a singular finger at one group of individuals,
Right.
and the Asian community has been incredibly affected by kind of um, the the violence against them, the racism, things like that. My parents experienced it themselves, not during the pandemic, but they experienced it when they were in the States. I've experienced it. Um, I think the only positive thing that came out of this was that there is recognition that
Yeah.
this type of violence and racism exists.
Yeah.
And now it's an opportunity to correct that.
Yes, sir.
And that's not through violence. It's not an eye for an eye. It's education. It's being able to have these type of conversations
Right.
because people tend to point fingers, and let's put our hands down and let's just chat
Yeah.
and figure out what are the differences, if there are any, and more importantly, what are the commonalities.
Right. No, that's a great point, man. Let's pause, let that breathe, because that was heavy.
Yeah.
That was heavy, man. And I'm a big supporter of the Asian community, obviously, right? And my heart was broken when those things were happening. And to your point, it's shown a light on things that's been going on in the Asian community for decades.
Yeah.
Just there wasn't that much light on it as you would say, like in the Black community, right? And the pandemic kind of showed a light, but thankfully we're getting past it, hopefully, and
Hopefully. Yeah.
having people like yourself on this platform helps with that representation and exposure. And so I guess we'll just close out the interview by me asking, because I'm sure people are probably going to want to reach out to you because you're kind of like a unicorn. I hate to say it,
No,
man. I
no,
hate to
don't
say
say
it. I
that.
hate to say it, dude.
Yeah.
But even me in the industry, I don't know of too many Asian American brokers, especially in Philadelphia or like on the East Coast. I know them, few in the West,
Yeah,
few
a
on the
lot,
West
lot on the
Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
on the
definitely more.
West, but on the East Coast, nah, man. But that's great. Now they'll probably be reaching out to you. So where can they find you if they want to reach out to you? Do you have
Link,
like a social media handle? Is LinkedIn the proper way to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn's the easiest.
Okay,
So
okay,
so Tommy Choi, Choi,
okay.
at LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. But if you're going to be at Cornet Global Summit this November, in Seattle, I will also be there. So please come and say hi.
Okay, then, and then let's also put your organization NAAAP out there.
Yeah.
You know, how do people join NAAP? Is it only for Asian Americans? Because I joined NAAP. Talk about that a
No,
little bit.
absolutely not. So NAP is, like I said, a professional development nonprofit here in Philly. Anyone can join, and
Okay.
we want everyone to join.
Okay.
You don't have to be Asian. You don't have to be a minority.
Right.
You don't have to be any. You don't have to fit any type of category.
Mhm.
The only thing that we want to expose our members to is the opportunity to have networking events and speaker engagement events where you can be in the same room as a CFO or a CMO or CEO,
Right.
individuals that most of the time for you and someone like you and I, it's hard to at least get that one-on-one time
Yeah.
with. We want to expose everyone with those leaders because they're in their leadership position for a reason.
Right.
And we want everyone to be able to kind of learn from them and hear their background, their
Right.
stories, because it might come to a surprise for a lot of people of how they got started in their respective business. But you can go on the NAAAP website. We are creating a new web link, so
Okay.
I don't know what it's going to be 100% just
Okay.
yet. But if you reach out to me, I'm happy to share with everyone what the NAAP link is and how to register. Membership's only $50 a year.
Yeah.
It's great. All our events are all our former events that were networking are fully catered. The Philadelphia Abundance event was fully catered.
Yeah, it was amazing. The
Yeah,
food was delicious. The music was great. I had a great time, man.
yeah. So we have that, but we also do CEO or C-suite fireside chats,
Okay.
and we've been doing them virtually,
Okay.
and it's great because we can jam 200 people into a Zoom link,
Yeah.
and people are just kind of getting to know one another and hearing the speaker's backgrounds. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate that. Well, Tommy, look, man, it was great interviewing you. You have a great story. That's why I wanted you on here. You're doing a lot of great things in the community. And I wish you nothing but, I wish you nothing but success going forward.
No, I appreciate that. You as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.